All right, you guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Following the breadcrumbs to find the truth, right? And so far, we've been able to steer clear of the enemy's tricks and plans. Now, several of you asked me to take a look at the movie Unstoppable. Now, interestingly, my backup channel is called Enterthestars Unstoppable. And I can't remember why I named it that. It's been 4 or 5 years since I named the channel that. But things have begun to come full circle. Because we're going to look at the Denzel Washington film, Unstoppable, from 2010. Now, this is going to blow some of you away. Because if you will remember, in this film, Denzel Washington grabs the train by the tail. He literally uses his train engine to eat the tail of the snake of another train. The movie is all about an Ouroboros. Now, how can this be? Well, apparently they're telling us this was a real event based off of a true story, right? But here's where we need to break things down. Because everybody remembers Cashapp 8888. This is the zombie apocalypse plan coined by the military. The counter-zombie dominance U.S. Department of Defense Strategic Command, Cashapp. And it's a document that described a plan for the nation and its military defending against any zombies. Now, they wrote this off as some kind of a joke. It was supposed to be an inside joke to motivate the people involved in this little operation by having some fictional backstory. But at the end of the day, we know what these people are up to. Now, why are we talking about Cashapp 8888? Well, did you know that the movie Unstoppable was based off of CXX 8888, a runaway toxic train incident in 2001, just before 9/11. And so the movie is based off of this real life incident. Now, Denzel Washington's in the movie along with Chris Pine, which, as you'll see soon, will stand for the pineal gland. And they're riding in train 666, as you will also see. The entire movie is about the serpent eating the tail, and their plans to turn your pineal gland into darkness instead of full of the light. Now, what was weird about the event and this film were the eerie synchronicities to the Ohio train derailment and chemical spill and burn. We're going to look at those similarities today. I've got a montage pulled up for you guys. This is the Unstoppable film. Chris Pine, Rosario Dawson, and Denzel Washington from 2010. Let's go ahead and get started. First off, we know that the Ohio train incident happened on February 3rd, 2023. In other words, it happened on 2323, right? Well, you're going to see this appear in the film several times. 2323. Here's 322 backwards on this note here. Let's keep watching here, because there's more. Here's Highway 322, which is 23 backwards. This is where the train runs away. Highway 322, and you see it running right through here. It's actually parallel to the runaway train. because the runaway train's happening at where these red dots are, but it's parallel to Highway 322. Now, outside of this number 23, I didn't see too many other numerical synchronicities in the film that tie into the event specifically. But look at the train that Denzel Washington is riding in with Chris Pineal. The number of the train breaks down to 6 plus 6 is 12, and another 6. That's 666.
Like I told you.
Now, the 666 train ends up running down train 777. Watch. It runs down the train and eats the tail of the train like an Ouroboros. Now we know that 777 is another occult number. So, what is in this train that is so toxic? Well, molten phenol, they call it. And let's keep watching here.
Just tell me what you know about molten phenol.
Well, it's serious stuff. Very toxic, highly combustible.
Well, that's terrific.
Connie, the throttle was...
So, I hope you're sitting down for this one. Because what was on the train in the movie Unstoppable, some people are intolerant to because of mold. Mold-induced illness causes phenol intolerance. Now, why? Why is this the case? And I'll put a link to this article dated October 20th, 2016. I'll put a link to this article for you guys. But this is a thing. Now, why are people who have mold illness sensitive to phenols? Why do they have phenol intolerance? Well, according to this article, mycotoxins that are released by the mold have the same chemical structure as phenols that are found naturally in food. So essentially, your body is overloaded with the phenols from the mycotoxins. And then when you eat foods that have phenol in it, you get an allergic reaction. Now, I'm not going to read through this whole article, but as you can see from the titles in this article, from the headings, this is a problem for people who have mold sickness. Now, here are the symptoms of phenol intolerance. This thing goes all the way through this. This is crazy. Rhinitis, urticaria, which is hives, eczema, gut inflammation, mood swings, blood sugar dysregulation, headaches or migraines. Now, you're going to experience some of this even without eating phenolic foods, just from the mycotoxins being released in your body. But when you eat the foods on top of it, it causes you to go, it's like a reaction that you get, all this stuff. Now, which foods have phenols? Well, here's the list. Here are the fruits and vegetables that have it. It's not all fruits and vegetables. It's just some fruits are low, moderate, high, or very high in phenols. If you're having a moment with mold inflammation, then you might want to back off of some of these very high or high phenolic foods. Here's the vegetables. Here's other foods. I'll again put a link to that, and of course you could see it on the screen here. So, the movie, in mentioning molten phenol and everything we've been talking about, is essentially gaslighting people, making fun of phenol sensitivity that they already knew people would have because of mold toxicity. Now, the conductor of the real life incident that happened, remember, CSX 8888, this conductor was never ever named in the incident, nor was his punishment disclosed. What was this really about? How did this really happen? I guess we'll never know, because they never made this person's name clear to the public. A 35-year veteran, nor his disciplinary action. Now, let's keep going with this. There's a little bit more, because next you're going to hear 39 cars. Well, there were 38 cars that derailed the Ohio incident. So not exact, but close.
In notch 8, full power.
Okay, it was 39 cars.
Now, in the movie, the runaway train is in southern Pennsylvania, but in real life, it was in
live, local,
western Pennsylvania, right on the border, just over into Ohio. So not exact location, but close, within what, 90 miles, 80 miles. Let's keep watching as they explain how all this happened.
late breaking. The engineer, they say, made an error in controlling the train. Before leaving the locomotive, he intended to apply the independent brakes.
Now, the news outlet that covers this in the movie is Fox 43. Well, they're now saying that 43,000 animals have died.
The train, AWVR 777, otherwise known as 777, left Fuller Yard in northern PA sometime before 8 a.m. this morning. More word on that runaway freight train in rural Pennsylvania.
We're being told now by a spokesperson for the Public Utilities Commission that this employee will be held accountable. And then by the time he realized his mistake, the train was going too fast for him to climb back on.
And no one was on board.
So what are you suggesting we do, derail it?
So as the plot progresses, we learn very quickly that the corporate interests are not making decisions based on the safety of the citizens nor the environment. Watch.
Yes, sir, I am. While we still can. Mr. Galvin, I understand that's going to cost the company a lot of money.
Do you think? Miss Hooper, we are not going to intentionally destroy one of our own trains.
If even one of those hazmat cars blew, could easily decimate an entire town.
That train is carrying 8 of them.
Can you please explain the train is barreling down these tracks? Now there was a
We're still going over the numbers, but should 777 derail, we're looking at a major disaster.
How fast are you going?
55 mile an hour.
Now, interestingly, you just heard Denzel say 55 miles an hour. Well, in this film, when this film released, Denzel Washington was 55 years old. Now, I don't know what that number means yet. I've heard the number 55 come up a couple times in other decodes. Can't remember specifically which ones, but it's a thing. So, I don't know, maybe you guys have some ideas about the number 55. It actually appears several times in this film, the number 55. Probably like 3 or 4 times, number 55 comes up. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you guys think that means. Then, of course, they talk about the evacuation, which again happened in real life.
1206, go faster.
Over. Why, is that coaster still on the main?
1206, 777 is not a coaster. Our
Thank God, wait. Emergency responders want to halt all activity near the line and possibly evacuate all homes within a mile radius of the tracks.
So the train company tries to cover up the developing situation just like in real life. No, none of us even heard about Ohio until like the middle or end of February, when it happened like on February 3rd. But we didn't hear about it till like weeks later. Huge fire, toxic chemicals, that should have been mainstream news, but it wasn't until after the fact. So the train company comes up with a secret plan, and they don't tell anyone about it. But basically, they're going to drop a man on a rope by helicopter onto the engine to try to stop the engine. But then the plan fails. Watch.
Now they're sending a chopper with Ryan Scott, and the railroad company is still refusing to comment.
Yeah, you have to call
Frank, that train's carrying 30,000 gallons of toxic chemicals.
Now, the movie train is carrying 30,000 gallons of toxic chemicals, whereas the Ohio train was carrying 100,000 gallons of toxic chemicals.
They had a window before, but that train's going into populated areas. There's no way.
Now, they missed their opportunity to safely derail the train in the unpopulated areas. But since the train company's plan failed, they are basically forced to try to derail it inside of a populated area.
They had a window before, but that train's going into populated areas. There's no way they derail it now.
But I believe that maybe that is what actually happened in Ohio. Next, you're going to see another 23. Watch.
You sure about that?
The plan to derail this 39 car
3.2 miles from Arklow. 23 backwards. Let's keep watching.
runaway train is just minutes away now. There is a tremendous amount of activity going on. Will this train be able to be stopped?
Now, the particulars are still being examined, but authorities are far more focused on the potential destruction that would result if train 777 were to...
Look at this. Martha's Furnace. So that would be the train fire, right? Martha Furnace. I don't know if these are real places. Here's Horsehead. Where did we hear that before? Horsehead was where they spotted one of these balloons, didn't they? Horsehead, Yukon. One of these Chinese balloons or objects.
Derail in Stanton. We're bringing you live coverage right now on what could very well result in one of the worst disasters in the history of the state of Pennsylvania. Yet!
Lo and behold, a car with sparks flying down the train track, just like the sparks in the Ohio train disaster. It was going for miles with sparks on it.
Frank! Yeah. I hear you. We just lost our brakes!
Wow. So, out of options, Denzel and Pineal have to run down the train. They have to attach to the back of it to try to slow it down. But as they keep braking, the brakes break. And I'm watching these sparks, and that's when it hit me. Just like the Ohio train car, it was running with sparks. And you got to ask yourself, was somebody trying to slow the train down? Had someone applied the brakes to the car that was sparking? Because that's what happens in the movie. Basically, Denzel climbs out of the engine here and he runs back to the cars that they have attached to their engine, and he turns the brakes on each of the cars to try to slow the other train down because they've already attached to it, right? Weird. There's Fox 43.
Chopper 43, over and out.
And those are the last words in the film.
When the song come.
And there are 43,000 animals that they are saying died. And that number's pretty much been consistent, apparently. Hasn't really changed. 43,000 fish, crustaceans, amphibians, and marine animals. And that's about it for Unstoppable. Like I said, there weren't exact comparisons, but enough to where I wanted to do this presentation for you guys. Tomorrow, we're going to get into a mysterious mold that is covering a Tennessee town. Why is it covering the town? They're saying it's because of a whiskey fungus at the Jack Daniels plant. Let me give you a little snapshot of what's going on here. Let's play this video and you will hear that this is real. Let's refresh this, see if it plays.
The evaporation of the ethanol that's inside those barrel houses with all that alcohol turns into a black fungus, and that black fungus attaches itself to anything that doesn't move.
Unbelievable. This is what people are having to deal with. Now, why this has never happened before in the history of places like this is the question. Why is mold now growing out of control? Now, I will tell you something. And I'm gonna go in the chat here because I want to talk to you guys about this too. Let's play a little bit more of this.
Hazardous material. That zoning does not prohibit that to even occur, and yet we're going to have 66,000 barrels.
66,000 barrels. Seriously?
Of Jack Daniel's whiskey in each of those 6 barrel houses, producing the black fungus that you see here at 6.
Whoa. Did he just say 666? Hold on. Rewind. 6 barrel houses with 66,000
houses producing the black fungus wait. In each of those 6 barrel houses producing, we're going to have 66,000 barrels.
Oh boy. You have to be kidding. Let's zoom in on his face because hopefully this guy's not in on it.
Have 66,000 barrels of Jack Daniel's whiskey in each of those 6 barrel houses producing the black fungus that you see here at 6 times the levels that we have today.
How can someone say that with a straight face without realizing that they're literally saying 666? I don't get it, you guys. We are living in an alternate reality of some kind. Talk about being no part of this world. Wow. So we'll dig into that tomorrow. Now, what I wanted to talk to you guys about and ask you about, I was born in 73, as many of you know. 49 years old. I'll be 50 years old on my birthday, on the 88th day of the year. And when I was probably, I want to say, maybe 8 years old, 10 years old, so that would put it back in, like in the early 80s. And tell me if you guys remember this, but bread would go moldy literally within 3 or 4 days if left out of the refrigerator. Do any of you remember that? And now, over the last 10 years, I can't remember any loaf of bread that has gone moldy even after 2 or 3 weeks. Now, just out of practice, I've been putting my bread in the refrigerator for many, many years, decades, just to keep it fresh. And because I had memories of a child of having to do that, because it would otherwise, if you left it out, it would go moldy within 2 or 3 days. So I'm just used to putting bread in the refrigerator. But sometimes I've left the bread out, not out, but in its bag on top of the microwave or whatever, and it literally never grows mold. So you got to ask yourself, what is this new mold emergence? Is it some kind of bioweapon? Does it tie into our memories of when, in the 80s, when bread and things and fruit, you would leave fruit out and it would grow moldy. Now it doesn't seem to do that. Now, can anyone confirm this for me, or am I just losing it? Am I having a Mandela moment? Because that's what I remember, you guys. That's what I remember. Let's see what you guys have to say about this. My wife got Wonder Bread at the store and it was moldy. Okay, so some of you are getting mold. I haven't seen mold in a long time. I can't even remember the last time I saw mold on a piece of food, to believe it or not. GMO food, says Kansas Gal. Some of you are seeing the mold. They use mold to make antibiotics, says Sunshine Gina Bowman. Maybe they are shutting down protection. That's a great theory. Some of you agree, some of you disagree. My bread gets moldy quickly in Texas. So it sounds like my bread gets mold. Bread out 2 weeks, no mold. So different, I guess it's different kinds of bread. I'm talking about like white bread, I guess. Silverlace posted in the Facebook group. Same with cheese and milk. Wow. All right. Well, I like to ask you guys these questions because we had a real poll, right? Because we know the polls that we see in the mainstream media are all fake. But when all of us are together and we're talking about this stuff, we get a real snapshot across many, many people of what the truth is. Now, once the show ends and you want to give some feedback, please put it in the comments section. Because that helps us understand what's going on. But, you know, we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but what the heck is going on with this Jack Daniels plant? Why all of a sudden is it causing mold? Why hasn't this been a problem before? All right, you guys, I love you, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Put links in the description. Take care and be safe.